There's truly something special about raising your own meat. You know, knowing what was put into the animal, how it was cared for, the living conditions, the feed, all of it. And that's the reason we do it. Being self-sufficient and showing and leading by example for our kids is a huge reason why we raise our own meat and why we do what we do. We could go to the grocery store, pick up a package of meat, and call it a day. But, you know, there's things that, for me and my wife, you know, there's things that you can't put a price on. You know, how these animals are treated and the care that goes into them is something that we're not willing to compromise on. You know, teaching children to care for animals instills responsibility and allows them to appreciate their hard work that they put into getting food on the table. You know, the kids see that the animals deserve respect, they deserve to be treated fairly, and they deserve a good life. And we're providing that here, and our kids see it on an everyday basis. They know where their chickens come from, they know where their eggs come from, they know where their beef comes from, they know where the pork comes from, they know where the venison comes from. You know, having the kids involved shows them that they can do something on their own or give something back to the family. They have a sense of pride in their hard work, and that just resonates with the family, and that just, you know, gives us such a great feeling of an accomplishment that they normally wouldn't have, you know, as an 8-year-old or a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, whatever the case may be. But it's so important to teach them at a young age that not everything's easy, but if you're willing to work for it, good things will happen. You know how these animals were raised, the shelter. We built this year, and it allowed us to provide them a good home base for the animals. They were able to get out of the wind, the snow, the rain, and just seek shelter in a nice structure, open air, fresh air, no mess as far as manure and urine. They're not laying in it, they're not sleeping in it. They have, you know, a pretty good space here for bedding, to get warm and get out of the elements. You know, there's times in the morning where I come out here first thing, it's well below freezing, and when they get up from bed, there's steam coming from the pile. You know it's composting, you know they're feeling comfortable, and that's the biggest thing here, is minimizing stress. If you minimize stress, when you go to harvest that animal and put it in your freezer, the quality is just going to be that much better. You know, and getting on the quality, we don't compromise on feed. It's worth it to us to go the extra mile. We use a local feed mill. It's Cold Springs Organics. They're out of Cobleskill or Sharon Springs, New York. It's organic, non-GMO, local-ish feed. They do what they can as far as being local for their grains. And it's something that you can see in their product, right? So if you get a regular mash from a local you know, Tractor Supply or something like that, there's a huge difference. Last year, the pigs that we raised, we got just a run-of-the-mill feed because we were out. They wouldn't even touch it. This feed is high quality, and it comes out in the end. So that's one thing I would not compromise, is your food. Yes, grains are a staple in a pig's diet. It's super important to get them to a harvest weight in a reasonable amount of time. You could sustain an animal on just kitchen scraps alone, but we're trying to get something to market in an efficient amount of time. So grain is their staple. They do get food scraps, and they do get, you know, leftover animal waste if we're butchering another animal. We process the majority of our own animals here on farm. That allows us to have control over how we put our end product in the freezer. You know, if we want a certain amount of steaks or a certain amount of roasts or a certain amount of ground for sausage, we're able to customize that on the fly. You know, if you send it to a processor, you got a cut sheet and they pretty much stick to it, and you're kind of at the will of the processor. But one of the main driving factors for processing here on farm is minimizing stress to the animal. Like I've alluded to before, harvest day is pretty much just like any other day in their life, and first thing in the morning, I come out like I normally would, and that to me is peace of mind in the long run. Processing the animal for me, harvesting the animal, is something that I feel anyway is a way to give respect to that animal. Do the ultimate sacrifice. You know, that animal gave its life. It's the ultimate sacrifice, and I feel that's the way to honor that animal. To pay respect to it. Nothing goes to waste. We try to use everything that we possibly can from that animal, feed some of the scraps to the chickens, or compost the rest of it that we don't end up using and put it back in the garden. You know, that whole circle of life idea is something we try to strive for. And one of the biggest benefits of having pigs in this system is the connection to the land. You know, as you can see, we're doing deep bedding here. We're going to give back to the land, right? This is going to be compost, put on our gardens, put on our pastures, put on our food plots, things like that. Where they were in this quote unquote sacrifice area, that was sunflowers, pumpkins, corn, peas, that kind of thing. That's going to get turned back into a summer garden. So allowing the pigs to till the areas we need. Pigs want to till, they want to root. Most people view that as destructive. Let's put that to work. Get them in the garden so we can have a nice soil rich environment. You know, I'll close out with this. Raising your own meat allows you to be self-sufficient, instills a sense of pride in your work, gives you that ability to tell a story at every meal. You know how that animal was raised, and it gives you that sense of confidence to go ahead and push yourself outside your comfort zone. Today's harvest day, so we're gonna get some stuff around and then get ready to harvest. It's about 8:30 in the morning. Just me today, so we'll see how it goes. So here I'm trying to hook up the chain to my hitch, and then I'm gonna use the chain hoist to pull the pig up, and that'll allow me to slowly pull the hide up. I didn't want to use the forks because that'd create too much tension and wouldn't give me as much control, but nevertheless it didn't work. It was a total failure. So I ended up hand skinning both the pigs, and it's a little bit more work in the end, but I'm still happy with how it came out. Okay, I'm gonna take a break for a minute and then get round 2 going. A lot of people do this for a lot of different reasons, but really for us, it's about knowing how your food was raised, where it comes from, how it was treated. And for me, people are like, well, why don't you just take it to a butcher? It's an option. Not only with the added expense, it doesn't jive with my principles, right? Like, you trailer them, they're no doubt going to be stressed out. They're out of their routine. This morning, I came out here like I do every other day, right? Nothing's different for them. Everything stays the same. Comfortable, low stress. To me, there's something about that, and there's something to be said for knowing how it was butchered and knowing the care that went into the animal. So I thank her for her life, and she'll feed our family for the year to come. Thank you, Mama. again, I'm just gonna do the fronts and then I'm gonna figure out from there. Alrighty. Okay, so here we are at the end of the day. It's about 1:30. First shot, roughly 9:15, 9:30 in the morning. Long day by yourself, but it's pretty rewarding and I enjoy it. And like I said earlier, just knowing where your food comes from, how it was grown, what was put into it, and the care that was provided to that animal. It's something you can't buy in a grocery store, so I'm willing to make some sacrifices and go the extra mile. Real quick, show you what we got here. So this is the second pig, the female, the bigger of the two. It turned out pretty well considering. I did a decent job here, got into the side meat a little bit. But overall, it was pretty good. First guy is here. So they're gonna hang overnight. And then tomorrow, my buddy's coming over and we're gonna process that. All I got left is a little bit of cleanup. I'm gonna get the jowl bacon and then switch out the forks, put the bucket on, and compost those. So that's all for today. We'll pick back up tomorrow. More later. Okay. You can do one at a time.
I know that you're curious. I know that you're strong.
No, back one. No. Do a couple at a time.
Things can go wrong. You go. We're better off tomorrow, but who knows if we get joy or sorrow. Stay true to that fire in your heart and your soul. Don't drench your desire in what you can't control. We fly, try so hard to get there, and we might be lost but not forever. There's things in life you simply need to know, like sun and rain and trust in letting go. It takes a bit of suffering, sleep sleepless nights and wondering before you make it safely to the end, the end, the end.
Hi, I'm going to shops.
Welcome to what?
Meat shop.
Oh, that works. Every meal from this harvest will tell a story, a sense of responsibility, hard work, resilience, teamwork. And there's something to be said for that. And you can't replace that, in my opinion. And there's no better feeling